Michael Brown, Daniel Shaver, and Freddie Gray share one thing in common, and that is they all died at the hands of police officers who used excessive force. Protected by policies like qualified immunity, police across our country are free to terrorize our communities, our neighbors, and possibly even ourselves without fear of repercussion. My passion in life is ending police brutality. I have spent countless years researching and advocating to end qualified immunity. Ending qualified immunity would allow police officers to be held to the same standards as private citizens. There are people that are for and against ending qualified immunity. According to the nonprofit The Appeal, qualified immunity means that victims of brutality by law enforcement generally get no relief in court and have no ability to hold offending officers accountable. That means that officers who commit the brutality and harassment and governments that employ them have little incentive to improve their practices and follow the laws. According to the National Police Support Fund, officers and public officials need qualified immunity to carry out their jobs. Public officials, like police officers, perform vital tasks that may require split-second decisions in stressful circumstances. Taking away qualified immunity could lead to officers being hesitant to act when it is most needed. I'm going to talk about qualified immunity, the problems with qualified immunity, and what can be done to end qualified immunity. Excessive force and other means of police brutality are a constitutional issue. In 2015, the Washington Post began a comprehensive project to log every fatal shooting by an on-duty police officer in the United States. Between the years 2015 and 2022, there have been more than 5,000 fatal shootings by an on-duty police officer in the United States, and that's according to the Washington Post collected data. Police are supposed to protect and serve their communities. When police kill, they are rarely prosecuted. From 2005 to 2019, there have been 104 law enforcement officers with general powers of arrest who have been arrested for murder or manslaughter resulting from an on-duty shooting. Of those 104 officers to date, only 35 have been convicted of a crime resulting from that on-duty shooting. And that's according to the Police Integrity Research Group at Bowling Green State University. Now, if a private citizen was to shoot someone, they would be arrested, they would be given the right to a trial, and they would be required to serve their punishment. I'm going to talk to you about the issues that contribute to the problems that I just discussed. The Supreme Court infringed on the constitutional rights of civilians when they created qualified immunity. The Supreme Court could amend qualified immunity, but chooses to uphold the unconstitutional legal principle. In 1967, the Supreme Court invented qualified immunity, describing it as a modest exception to the public officials who acted in a good faith and believed that their conduct was authorized by law. The Institute for Justice states that civil suits are the only way victims and families can get compensation for the violation of their constitutional and civil rights. Qualified immunity is preventing police officers from being criminally prosecuted. Qualified immunity limits legal remedies for victims of police violence. Qualified immunity is one reason why police are emboldened to use excessive force without fear of repercussions. The Supreme Court and Congress could end qualified immunity, and it would be a major victory regarding police accountability. I'm going to discuss a solution that can greatly reduce the use of excessive force and police brutality. In response to the heinous acts of police misconduct, including the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, representatives of Congress Ayanna Pressley and Justin Amash have introduced legislation to end qualified immunity. The legislation says that qualified immunity doctrine is not grounds for defense for officers that violate the law. Introduced in the House on June 4, 2020, Ayanna Pressley's Ending Qualified Immunity Act would amend Section 1983 to explicitly state that the qualified immunity doctrine invented by the Supreme Court does not provide police officers that brutalize or otherwise violate civil rights with defense or immunity from civil liability for their actions. For the safety of our communities, we have to remove the defense of qualified immunity and hold police officers accountable for their actions. Excessive force and other means of police brutality are a constitutional issue, and when police kill, they are rarely prosecuted. Ending qualified immunity will allow police to be held to the same standards as private citizens. Protected by policies like qualified immunity, police across our country are free to terrorize our communities, our neighbors, and possibly even ourselves without repercussions. We must unite as a country and protect everyone and their rights.